All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to do a quick introduction and recap before Jenna gets started on this week's topic, which is media literacy. So again, my name is Andrea Valencia. I'm the reference and instruction librarian, and my email is listed here. And this is Jenna Pontius. She's the public services librarian, and she's going to be discussing with you today some topics related to media literacy. And then just a quick reminder of our course schedule. So we are on our third course on September 15th today, Media Literacy, Enhancing Legal Research. Our following two courses are going to take place on September 22nd, Legal Research Part 1, Primary Authority versus Secondary Authority, Research Tips and More. And then our final class will conclude on September 29th. It's titled Legal Research Part 2, Demo Live Answering of a Reference Question. So I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone who has submitted a reference question to me that they volunteered to be discussed during this final session. And we're going to go over the research tips and strategies on how I would answer that question, and just the different types of searches that are yielded and how to navigate those. So if you have any further questions that you would like to submit to me, my email is again listed at the beginning, and I'll put it in the chat. And as always, after the course, if you have any reference questions that you want to submit to me, you can always submit it to me directly or to the law library email. And then we try to answer within 24 hours to the best of our ability. So without further ado, I'll give it over to Jenna, and she's going to be talking about media literacy.
Thank you, Andy. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you can see it. So, and welcome to Investigate the Internet, How Media Literacy Enhances Legal Research. Again, I'm Jenna Pontius, and I'm the Public Services Library here at the Law Library. You can use the chat for questions. Andy will be monitoring it while I'm doing the presentation. The session is recorded and will be sent to you afterwards. And if you do have any questions, if you put it in the chat, I can try answering them live in the particular area that I'm at. So let's go ahead and get started. So I had a poll created, but technology being what it is, the poll isn't working. I don't know why. So you can just put in the chat, what social media do you use? And the little icons that are on the screen are Blogger, Instagram, an RSS feed, Google+, Tumblr, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So you can put all, or maybe your favorite. Andy uses all of it. She also uses TikTok, which we didn't have as a choice. Linda uses Google. Gina uses Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Blogger. So it looks like we have a pretty good variety of social media being used. So now that we've shared what social media that we use, I'm going to go over our learning objectives for this presentation. So our learning objectives are to learn what media literacy is, the definition, learn about the types of media there are, learn about the 4 methods of fact checking, and then the acronym Sift, which I'll go over in further detail later, a few slides down. We're going to complete an activity together to learn how to apply what we've learned, and then we're going to learn how to apply media literacy and fact checking to legal research. So the last 2 classes of this series is going to cover the legal research in more depth than this presentation, but some legal research topics will be discussed here. We're starting with media literacy, as most legal research is now performed using the internet rather than print materials. And even I and Andy, we use the internet to do legal research rather than walking over to physical books. So what is media literacy and why is it important? So the definition is the ability to oops. The ability to access, close that. Access, analyze, evaluate, create, and communicate using information in all forms. So when accessing information on the internet or using social media, you need to be able to read and assess like any other information source that you would encounter. So for example, let's say you left an office of an attorney after asking for a price quote on a consultation for your legal matter. And as you're walking out the door, someone stops you saying like, hey, did you meet with this attorney? Well, I can do it for cheaper. I just need the money right now. So how do you assess that situation for reliability and trustworthiness? So this is what we're doing for the internet sources. Because in legal research, your goal is to get accurate, reliable, and helpful information. So media literacy gives you the tools to help you read and investigate the internet. There, nope. Why is this not going forward? Okay. So I'm going to play a video now to further explain what media literacy is. Just before playing it, this video is geared more towards adults with children, but there's still pertinent topics for us and like information for us. Oh, so apparently you can't hear the sound. I'm not sure how to fix that. Okay. Oops. Okay, we're not going to watch the video because I can't figure out this. I can't troubleshoot this at the same time. So we'll move on. Anyway, the video talks about media literacy and how much time we spend on social media. So studies show that we're spending up to 11 hours on social media or devices. And then the video talks about like, is that what you want your kids to be looking at? And like, you don't know what they're looking at. So that's the video. I can send out the video as a separate link afterwards. And I am sorry about that. I think there's something
I had no idea.
to enable beforehand to make it work. So now we're going to talk about the types of media that there are. It's important to learn how to use the internet to our advantage. And so knowing the different types of media will help. So there's print media, broadcast media, visual media, and social media. And if you wanted to use the chat, does anybody have any examples of print media? Newspapers. All right. And magazines, yes. And what about broadcast media? Podcasts, yes. TV news, yes, on the television. Radio, YouTube. And visual media. I think blogs would be maybe print and visual. YouTube, some other visual ones could be infographics or photographs. And then social media, you'll probably know because you answered that question earlier. So here's a little infographic that describes the different types of sources. So this is about news, but there's for print media, magazines, advertising, newspapers. For broadcasting, there's radio and television. I would include podcasts under that as well. Visual media is infographics and photographs. And then social media are sites like Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of our favorites. So knowing the different type of media you're investigating is because media presents differently within the different types. So a radio ad is going to be different than a pop-up ad on your computer. And being able to differentiate between those, you'll be able to know what the intent is. So radio is going to have to, of course, just be audio only, no visual, where a pop-up ad can combine visual and audio. And what we're going to be really focusing on in this presentation is mostly on social media and like the internet. So now we have our first method that we're introducing is 4 methods of fact checking, which is number 1, check for previous work by others. Number 2, find the original source. Number 3, read laterally, read what others are saying about the source. And then 4, circle back or start over if you get lost. So for check for previous work by others, if you found an attorney's blog about DUIs, you can check to see if they've written other blogs and then see what other attorneys are saying about DUIs to see if there's similarities or differences between like 2 different law firms. For finding the original source, if you saw a post on Facebook or one of your social medias, you can see if you can find the original source by getting out of that social media and then using the internet to search for it. Reading laterally would be clicking on links or opening new tabs. So are there comments on the attorney's website? Are there Yelp reviews? You can go to the California State Bar site to type in the attorney's name to see what their standing is. So reading laterally isn't a deep dive into like one topic. It's a quick review of the website and then checking links and authors and other information on your original site or post just to see if it pans out. And also, does another company say anything about the website that you're looking at? And after all of this, you can circle back if you get lost. So the internet is a rabbit hole. It's helpful to notate if it's writing it down or keeping a separate Word document, whatever works for you, notating where you started so you can go back and recreate. Because I know if I'm doing a search and I open up like 10 different tabs, it gets confusing on where I started and what I've already looked at. So the second method, which I had mentioned before, was Sift, and it stands for stop, investigate the source, find better coverage, and trace claims, quotes, and media back to the original text. So it's like the 4 methods, but just a little different. So you are browsing the internet and you're going to stop at something that interests you and whatever you find. You're going to click on that source and investigate it by fact checking its expertise and agenda. So let's say, usually this is a non-legal example, but for movies, I like to start at Wikipedia. I know that Wikipedia is like an open source, so many people can log on and contribute to the information on it, but I'll go start at a movie, look at Wikipedia first, and then from the information that's in there, I'll take that out and do another search. And so I'll find better coverage by exploring other sites on the topic because I'm probably not going to want to learn about the US government just based off of Wikipedia. And if there's conflicting information, you can look at several sources to see what the consensus is. And you can also then trace claims or facts or comments back to an original source. Wikipedia does cite at the very bottom of the page, it has citations that you can click on. So I'm going to use an example of Sift from my personal life. So I was on Facebook and I saw this post and I'm going to read it. It's from a customer named Sharon to Costco, and it says, "I will not shop at Costco until you remove your mandatory mask rule." And then Costco responded, "Thank you for taking such a brave stand, Sharon. We look forward to the documentary they will make about you someday." And I saw that and was thinking, this is very strange because Costco is not known to have kind of a snarky rapport with their customers. So I was like, I don't know that this is true. so I Googled, so this was what I saw on Facebook. I don't know if it's not the original source. So I went onto Google and then typed in Costco rude customer or rude response to customer. And Snopes.com reported that this customer interaction was false. So a comedian poses as organizations by creating fake sites and responding to customers. So Snopes.com stated that the comedian's name was Ben Palmer. So then I Googled Ben Palmer comedian, and he has a website which included this post that I saw on Facebook. So I found the original source and the listing when I did the search for Ben Palmer comedian, and I backed out of his website and went back to my search results. There was an article from BuzzFeed about him creating a fake site in 2015. So this is what others say about the source. This is from an outside source, BuzzFeed, and it confirmed that this was not the first time that he had done like a comedic stunt like this. BuzzFeed is a website that I interact with frequently and is known to me to be a pretty trustworthy source, more than Snopes.com. So because I was more familiar with BuzzFeed, having BuzzFeed have information on it just solidified like, okay, this is a reliable source because Snopes is saying it and BuzzFeed is. So that is my example. And now we will be moving on to our activity. But prior to that, I sent a handout beforehand. That was this little infographic called Evaluating a News Article. So you can use the tips that are on this infographic, the 4 methods of fact checking and the Sift method, and we're going to evaluate a website that I'm going to share. So from this infographic, we're going to be looking, does the headline match the content? Are there spelling or grammatical errors? Is the author listed? So all these little tips that are on this page, we're going to be using for our activity. So I'm going to stop sharing this and then try, fingers crossed, because my technology has not been good today. Okay. Can everyone see a website that says all about explorers?
Yes.
Okay, yay, thank you. So the goal is to analyze this website using our new skills, and you can use that media analyzer PDF that I provided. And this is a website called allaboutexplorers.com. So here's the main page, and one of the ways to check the website is to click on the links and explore. So I had already did something, but if someone wants you, oh, do you want the website in the chat? I will do that. I'm putting the website in. Okay, so I will take suggestions. I was going to go to Explorers A to Z, but if you want to go somewhere else, we can do that. You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
I wouldn't mind seeing, I don't want to say his name wrong, but it's something I'm looking for too. Ponce de Leon, what was his name? Looking for youth or?
Okay, so maybe Explorers. There's a whole bunch of difference.
Ponce.
Juan Ponce de Leon.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll look at him. So we've clicked on Explorers A to Z, which took us to a list of explorers. And then we clicked on Juan Ponce de Leon, and here it is. And so I'll read this in case the font is too small. Juan Ponce de Leon was born on December 3rd, 1460 in Sines, Germany. He became interested in sailing through his cousin, Christopher Columbus, and was also close friends with his neighbor, Vasco da Gama. So it's no surprise that he became a world-famous explorer. In 1493, he accompanied Columbus on his second expedition to the Americas. Due to a disagreement between Ponce de Leon and his cousin, he did not return home but remained in Santo Domingo, which is now known as the Dominican Republic. While there, he contracted a rare disease, which caused the loss of his right hand. As a result, de Leon had to learn to type all over again with his left hand. So you can use your media analyzer and see, is there an author listed? I'll scroll down. Do we see any links? Can we verify this content that is being described in here about Ponce de Leon being cousins with Christopher Columbus and being born in Science, Germany? And then here's a supposed picture of Juan Ponce de Leon with a little hook for a hand. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that and go back to my PowerPoint so we can talk about the results. So what do you think? Was this website a trustworthy site to use? Andy says, type LOL. So it had said in the description about Juan Ponce de Leon that he had to learn to type with his left hand. However, if he was born in the 1490s, I do not think that the typewriter was around in that time. So that, for me, I would want to go Google and see when the typewriter was invented. Yesenia says, from first glance, it appears so, but something is way off, LOL. Yes, so at first glance, it seems because the links worked, there was a title and headline that matched, and it sounds very historical. There were no spelling or grammatical errors. Andy says it was a .com, which is not always legit, but there was no author or citations. So if anybody has any final thoughts, I can wait. I'll pause. So Yesenia agreed. So this site was not trustworthy. So this site was created specifically to teach media literacy. So it's made purposely with errors. So no, I do not think that Ponce de Leon was born in Germany, although I don't know for sure, but because of his Spanish sounding name, I would have assumed either like Spain, Portugal, or Italy. So sites can appear pretty legit because they will have the headlines match. There won't be obvious spelling or grammatical errors. It'll just feel a little off. And that's where employing the 4 methods of fact checking or Sift comes into handy. So for example, we could type in where was Juan Ponce de Leon born? And if it says somewhere else, then we would know that right away that this site is incorrect. So Linda is saying he was born in Sant Gervais de Campos, Valley de Lode, Spain in 1474 in Wikipedia. So thank you, Linda. So yes, he was not born in Germany. He was born in Spain. So how to apply this to legal research? How can you use the Sift method or the 4 methods of fact checking when researching case law? And how can you apply fact-checking goals to your personal social media accounts? So now that we've practiced on the Explorer's website, we're going to be applying them to legal research and possibly your own social media accounts. So to start, I just wanted to go over some commonly asked legal questions that we get at the library, because when you start your legal research, you start it because you have a legal question that you want to find an answer to. So we get evictions questions from both tenants or landlords. And we get questions about how to sue someone or an organization. We get questions about how collections cases work and where to start. We get questions for examples of specific legal documents, like how to do a brief, how to do points and authorities, how to do a complaint. And then we get asked for finding similar cases to the customer's specific case. So your question that you have is going to guide where you look for answers. So if you're getting evicted and live out of state and say like you live in Nevada, it would not be helpful to look at California evictions laws or processes. It might give you an idea of like the basic processes and requirements, but it's specific to California and not Nevada, and Nevada could be doing something completely different. So you want to look for stuff that is pertinent to where you are. So knowing where to look when performing a legal search online is going to help you find information more efficiently. So just starting off knowing, don't look at other states, try looking at California first, because that's going to be the most specific, unless you have an out of state case that you want to sue someone in Arizona. So there's legal information on the court's website. So probably the first starting point would be to start at the court in whatever county you're in. So this is Riverside County's Superior Court. And you'll want to look at the court where the incident occurred or you're going to file. So the court might have local rules that you'll need to be aware of, and sometimes they have local forms. So it's good to start with them. And I am going to share my screen so we can look at the court site together. I find doing it live, like seeing it. So here's the court site, and then there's under forms and filing, something called local forms. And then I can search through these. So these are specific to Riverside. And so most courts are going to have a self-help center. So you can see in the middle of the website page, there's a icon that says self-help with a little arrow. And then if you hover over it, it has a listing of different types of cases. So civil self-help, conservatorship, divorce or separation. Since we've been talking about evictions, I'll click on evictions. And so this is now, if you are looking up at the web address, it's the self-help evictions page. So this is specifically about evictions. So it gives you a starting point of what you'll need with your case. And right here, there might be legal services that you can use to get help through the court self-help, but not all courthouses are going to have the same things, same self-help things. Let's see. And another great resource that's not very well known is the California Courts Systems website that provides basic legal information. So it's not specific to a county, it's just for all of California, but it really has some like interactive or clickable links. I think for divorce, it'll ask you questions like, do you have this? And then you can do that. And it provides basic information just to give you an understanding and a foundation to start your legal research upon. And most counties have a law library like Riverside County, which is sometimes inside the court or as a standalone. The county public law libraries are funded by court fees. And the law libraries might have subscriptions to certain legal databases that include case law or secondary sources. So for our law library specifically, we have a subscription to Westlaw, Lexis, Fastcase, Hein Online, and a few others. So starting with the court and then going to their self-help and then seeing if they have a law library would be helpful because you can reach out to the court self-help or the law library and they can provide you further information, or for the law library, they can provide you access to their databases. So now that we've discussed the legal research, that it starts with a legal question and to look at the court that you're going to be filing, we can do a search. So using the example of maybe finding case law about evictions, how do you know if the information that you found is reliable? And taking it a step further, how do you know what cases you find are legitimate and good law? So you don't want to review law or sources that are outdated, and using the internet search browser. So can you let me know if you can now see Google or if I need to back out? Okay, now we're back since I had technical difficulties, and I'm going to share my screen and start off. So we were discussing doing searches. We were going to look for case law on evictions. So I was going to go to Google. That's what I was trying to do. And I was going to type in here Case law on evictions. So here are the search results, and you can see that the first 3 results are ads. So I would not click on the first 3 results because ads are companies or people paying for their website to come up first in your results. So you can see there's one for Lexus, there's one on this eviction moratorium. So then when we scroll down, then you can see to the left of the HTTPS, it says ad. So it's very subtle to tell if it's an ad or not. And so then the 4th entry down is actually when it's not an ad and it's a site for lawjustia.com. So how are we going to find trustworthy sites within this list provided? So we can use the 4 methods of fact checking. We can see what others are saying about a particular site by searching the site name. So we could open up another browser tab and put searching for FindLaw for legal professionals to see what comes up. Or you can use the original listing. You can click on a link and then clicks on links within a site. So I can go to this justia.com, it's Schweiger versus the Superior Court, and I can start clicking on different links where it's taking me. And then I can always go back to where I started, and then you can also see if it's making any citations. So this right here, 3cal.3d511 looks like a citation, so I could make a notation of that. And so I'm looking for broken links or stuff that takes me away from the site. And then I can also look at the web address. And if it's http whatever.org or this one is justia.com. So .coms are usually used by businesses. .orgs are usually used by nonprofits, and a .gov is a government site. So when you're doing your legal research on the internet, you can find, so when we do legal research, we find the questions that we're asking, it normally brings up a lot of blogs from lawyers about the topic. So if we were searching for evictions or DUIs, it'll have a lawyer who's saying this is what the California law is and this is what you should do. We don't use the lawyer blogs in our answers though. I might look at a lawyer's blog just to see what laws they're citing and what they say and maybe some language that I could use for a keyword search. But we do not copy the link of the blog and send it to customers because we don't know who this lawyer is, what their standing is, what the firm's standing is, and we're not going to perform that extra level of research. We're going to look for sites from the court or from the California court's website. And so we're going to look for more .org or .gov sites. But you can still use the blogs or things like this Justia, so you can just get codes and case law and information. So like I said, this one listing looks to be a citation, so we can make note of it that we want to then do a search with that citation or go into a site that's trusted and type in that citation to see what it brings up. So there are trustworthy free legal sites like Cornell Law, and then I know this is aggravating to stop and start sharing, but I want to show you FindLaw.com is another site that we can use that's just on the internet. You don't need to have an account or anything, that you can type in, and this is cases and codes. So you can type in evictions and then it's loading the search results. And so you can search this. So this site, even though it's a .com site, it's we've used it before and we know that it's trustworthy. And then, like I said, Cornell Law. So these are online sites that you can use to start searching case law. And in legal research, you want to gather as much information as possible. You don't want to base your findings off one thing. So please also note that when you're using search engines like Google, the results are tailored to you specifically. And the results that you will see are going to be different than your spouses, your friends, your classmates, even like The stuff that Andy searches on her computer is going to be different than I search on mine. So our Googles are going to work differently, even though we're at work together on the same network. If you're interested in learning more about that, the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, covers that topic. And there's also a library guide from Northern Essex Community College, and this will be in my works cited page at the end. So I'm going to hopefully go back to my PowerPoint. I'm very suspicious of the technology now. Okay. So after you've done your internet searching, finding case law, you would need to determine if the cases that you found are going to help or hurt your case. Are they going to support or go against what's happening? And you would need to make that determination as the searcher to see if that's going to be relevant to your case or not. The law librarians cannot and will not tell you to use that case because that's going to be considered legal advice. So one way you can see if you want to use your case is you can use one of our legal databases. I have a screenshot from our legal database Fastcase, which provides remote access. And that case that I found from Justia, the Schweiger versus Superior Court, I typed it into Fastcase, and they have a feature that you can see how many times it's been cited. And so you can see the red circle near the top indicates that the case is frequently cited, but it's bad law because it's red. So the red means that it's been overturned. So you don't want to cite it if you see something that's bad law. And then the blue circle that's under that red one, a little more to the left, is the Schweiger case. And the size of the circle shows that it's been cited. It's been close to 95 times, and it's blue, so it makes it good law. And so within the different databases, Fastcase and like Westlaw and Lexis, they have their own methods for what they call good law and bad law. And it's like key citing or shepherdizing. And a law librarian would be able to help you tell you what those different things were in the different databases of like, well, this red means bad law, or this key cite means that it's bad law. So we'd be able to help you using the databases themselves, but this is one method of being able to check if something is good law, just because on the internet searching, you'll be able to find the case itself, but some of the websites might not go this extra step of showing how much it's been cited. Right. So to recap, we've discussed what internet searching is, and that you need to have a legal question. That's where you start. It could be about eviction, civil, or family, whatever your legal question is. And then you need to find what court it's at, where you're going to file, and if there's any local forms that you need. And then you're going to do some searching to find any other cases and determine if you can apply those cases to yours. By seeing if it's good law or bad law, or if the facts of the case match maybe not entirely. It's going to be really hard to find a case that matches your specific situation, but that aligns pretty closely with what's going on with your situation. So law librarians can assist by providing keyword ideas to search for. And that's what I was talking about, by going to like the lawyers' blogs, or sites like Justia, to where you can get keywords or other citations to kind of use in your search. And then providing links to court sites and case law sites, and explaining how search engines work within our legal databases are other things that law librarians can do. Again, we can't tell you what cases are going to be good for your particular situation. So for your personal social media, if you see something like I saw about the Costco post, you can fact check and find the original source like I did. And generally, I'm going to cough, excuse me. Generally, if you use Google to search a topic, similar ads are going to post onto your Facebook or your other social media sites. So for example, if you're searching about evictions, you might start to see lawyer ads or other legal related ads in your feed. On the slide is a sponsored ad for FindLaw that came up on the library's Facebook feed, which I keep open on my computer all day. So with these ads, you want to apply the same methods that you learned today to assess their reliability. Because again, an ad is somebody is paying for that. And now the algorithms from Google and Facebook are using it to have you look at the ad. So you'd want to go double check and do your own search to see what you could come up about whatever ads pop up. If there's a particular lawyer, you can search his name and see his or her name and see what comes up for them. And so some form websites also offer templates for free. So this is just to be aware of, because the questions we get commonly are to use templates or give them forms. And so you might have an ad in here about like print off free eviction forms. And the catch is that you can usually fill them out online for free, but then to download them, it's going to charge you. So just be aware of those websites and really look in to see if there's going to be a paywall that you're going to hit if you start filling something out. Because for most, there usually isn't a ready-made form for most legal documents. So to revisit what we've learned, media literacy is reading the media like the internet, Facebook, magazines, and photographs. We've learned about the 4 methods of fact-checking, which are checking for previous work, finding the original source, reading laterally, and circling back. And then we also discussed the Sift method, which is stop, investigate, find better coverage, and trace claims, quotes, and media back to the original text. We applied what we learned during an activity, and we looked up, we used those methods using legal research for case law. So this is what we've learned today. Do we have any questions? And I'll be putting up my works cited slide, and I'll be sending the works cited to you. I'll send this presentation to you along with the video that didn't play. I'll send that to you as a follow-up. And I have my contact info up again. Andy and I put it in the chat earlier, but because I stopped and started the Zoom room, we'll put it in again. And you can also follow the library on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now TikTok. So I hope that you feel more confident in reading the internet and that it's going to help you access, analyze, evaluate, create, and communicate using information in all forms. You're welcome, Linda. I'm glad that Andy was able to help you with a research question. Okay.